Hey everybody, Economic Ninja here. I hope you're doing well. I'm going to report on something that actually helps me sleep at night. This kind of news is why I have been investing in gold since 2010. And the reason why is because I'm hedging against uncertainty. I'm hedging against inflation. Not putting all of my uh, eggs in one basket, to say the least. I am putting a little percentage of my net worth in this asset because I know that things are going to crap in a handbasket. Now, it doesn't happen overnight. And like I said, I've seen ups and downs in the gold market, but over the time of buying, I feel better about myself. And stories like this is the reason why, because the wealthy people and the governments around the world are buying it up. And this time, I'm not joking, it is different because we've never seen the last 50, 60 years world currencies go through so much turmoil and change. And so regardless of what US policy is with money printing and with honestly what they're doing with gold, because they're not buying any at all, right? Most of us, and please put down in the comment section, do you think there's any gold in Fort Knox? Why won't they simply take a photo inside Fort Knox with a government leader holding a gold bar around a bunch of gold bars? Like, oh, there's security. Like what? You think we're going to be afraid that there's actually gold in there? Like that's the security? Where all these other leaders around the world are sitting in their vaults like, yeah, we got the gold. And that's them actually showing the US, we got the gold. They don't think it. Remember what France did in the early 70s, late 60s, where they were freaking out, trading all their dollars in for gold. And Nixon finally had to close the gold window temporarily, yet one more lie from the federal government. And because he didn't want any more dollars being converted to gold, France was telling everyone, we don't trust the government, US government. And they're pulling all their stuff out. Now you're already seeing France do it again. We don't trust the US government and Western governments, so we may be joining China here pretty soon. Crazy, crazy stuff, right? But the reason why I do it is because I don't look at the dollars every day. I look at the day that I need to know that I'm preserving wealth. And that's what's important. Guys, I'm going to put a link to a company that I work with, that I've worked with, and I've heard nothing but positive things about for buying gold on the internet or silver that can actually be delivered to your door. Very important that you start looking into it. It's not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, but financial advisors literally for decades have always said you want to hold a certain amount of your wealth in gold as an insurance hedge. It's not about getting rich. It's about preserving wealth during a crash, right? So do I think the crash is going to come tomorrow and gold's going to spike? No. Do I think it's going to happen in the future? Yes. So that's why I have a certain percentage of my money in there, okay? All right, here you go. Story out of Zero Hedge, and I think it's very important. Central bank gold buying off to a record-breaking start in 2023, led by Singapore. And when we say record-breaking, they're not joking. It may not be off the charts gold buying observed in the second half of 2022, but central bank gold buying made a blistering start to 2023 when, according to the latest report from the World Gold Council, demand for the hard currency by the world's money printing authorities reached 228 tons in quarter one, which is a 176% increase compared to the 82 tons 1 year ago. While lower than the figures seen in the previous 2 quarters, this was nonetheless the strongest first quarter on record. All right. Now, let me stop there and say, the strongest first quarter on record. And here's a little chart that they show. Of course, there we go. Let's see here. This goes all the way back this just goes back to 2010, right? And it's going to be backwards, sorry. Here, we'll flip it there, that way. But you can see, right? We're getting massive. We're just blowing it out over since 2010. And remember, 2010, 2011 was when gold was hitting all-time highs. So you'd think back then that they would be buying it up, right? Countries would be like the retail investor. Retail investors in gold are weird. I'm serious. Like, we got to break this. When gold's going up, everybody races to go buy it. I talked to my broker the other day, and she was saying it is uncanny. It's just like you said. Literally. When silver's up, gold's up, they're buying like crazy. They're in panic mode. When it's down, you can't convince it's cheaper than it was last week. Oh, no. And that's what's crazy. So it's like, what do? I do what central banks and governments are doing, right? They're investing a certain way. I'm going to invest a certain way. Why? Because they're going to take all of our tax dollars and shove it in there and cause the prices to skyrocket over time. It's just super easy math. So you're looking, this is what central banks are doing, 2010 to now. Look at the difference with now. That's called panic, all right? It doesn't mean the price is going to go shooting up. Why? Because governments and central banks are a lot smarter than retail investors. They're not going and hitting the bid. They're buying slowly. But what they also are doing is they're taking that gold off of the market. The same's happening with silver. Silver is a much tighter market. And I love silver over gold, don't get me wrong. But I do want to own the wealth of kings, and that's gold, all right? So it says here, according to WCG, this is the most impressive considering it follows the record-breaking pace of demand last year. The rolling fourth quarter total soared to a record 1,224 tons in Q1 following the massive buying in recent quarters. As with the figures of both Q3 and Q4 of 2022, data for the current quarter contains significant estimate for unreported activity. Let's think about this. So right now this year, what do we see right now in quarter one that we didn't see in 2022? Bank failures. We're seeing bank failures in both Europe and in America. It's all over the news. It's all over global news. The governments are watching, right? So what happens when banks fail? People want to protect themselves. So we're talking about governments and central banks that are out there literally actively buying gold, all right? I also know a lot of wealthy people that are out there buying gold. And what's interesting too, and you got to think about this, prior to 2008, right? Gold actually bottomed in price during that cycle in October 18th or October 17th, I want to say, I could be wrong, between then and mid-November of 2008. And then went on a multi-year tear, right? Just kept climbing until we hit that all-time high in, I want to say, 2011. Now, before then, gold was sitting around $600, $700. Now we're sitting at 2,000, a much, much stronger gold price. Gold is still, since 2020, the year 2000, has outpaced any stock market index pretty much, I think, anywhere in the world. And there's very few things that have outpaced gold as far as sectors. Cryptocurrency being one of them, but that's a new technology, right? I mean, that's sort of, you can't even compare. Any new technology just blows up because of euphoria, right, when it comes to investors. But to think that we're starting this crisis with a $2,000 gold price. Now, can gold price drop down from here? Absolutely, and I expect it to. I expect panic, but the problem is unlike before, there's never been this much demand around the world to buy that metal. So I think the second you see the paper prices sell off, you're going to see central banks starting to buy up even more feverishly because they know what's going on. They're not retail investors. They understand what's going on. It says the People's Bank of China disclosed that its gold reserves had risen by 58 tons since recommencing reports of purchases in November of 2022. The PBOC has added 120 tons to its gold reserves, lifting them to 2,068 tons, 4% of total reported gold reserves. Overnight, the State Administration of Foreign Exchange reported the latest April reserves data, which revealed that China's gold reserves rose to a record 66.76 million ounces at the end of April, up from 66.5 million ounces at the end of March. It talks about Turkey going up, and it talks about all kinds of countries going up. This is happening right now before our eyes. The only question is, what are you doing? Are you investing like governments and central banks? Or are you investing like everybody in the wind where they're looking for the new tech stock that's just probably on a dead cat bounce? Guys, I'll put a link to that company below. It's good to have reputable companies that actually deliver to your house or wherever you want, if you want it vaulted as well. I also have a couple of vaulting options that I use. I'll put down below that I love. And I think it's important to preserve our wealth, and that's what we want to do. We want, it's all about during a collapse when everything's going down because everybody's heading for the exits, what's going down the least so you could take that and you could sell it to go buy all the stuff that is literally at rock bottom prices. All right, with that being said, I thank you so much for watching. The Economic Ninja is out.